Kitty. Hi. Oh, we're live on Facebook.
Yes, I'm gonna have to mute you. Who's chatting? Oh yeah, we've got some attendees now. Anne Marie and Arthur. Okay. Attendees cannot, oops, are we live? There it is. Okay, we are live. Okay. 3 o'clock. Start the recording. Okay, welcome to Rewriting Reality. I am Shiraz, your host, and this is a brand new show. This is our first episode. If you don't know me, I am a reality shifting specialist. And what that means is, as the name implies, I actually rewrite your reality, the name of the show there. How I do that is I have conversations with people, and when I talk to you, I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your subconscious beliefs, and when they don't, you're lying. Now, I don't care if you're lying to me, I care if you are lying to you. So you may come on and say, I would really like to change this in my life. I would like to double my income this year. And when you say that, I could read the energy and say, no, you don't actually want to double your income. And you may say, well, what are you talking about? And we'll go through a few questions. And it could turn out that if you double your income, you'll be really worried about losing that money again. So it's better just to stay exactly where you are and not double your income. Or if you double your income, you're worried that people will come up and say, could I have money? Could I have money? And so if you don't want that to happen, the best solution is to stay right where you are. So all these beliefs can be running under the surface that you're unaware of, and they're keeping you from changing your reality. So I'm going to help you find out what those beliefs are, get a shift going, and we'll see what happens. Now, the nice thing about this kind of work is that when I work on a particular person, the energy goes out to everyone listening, even if you're listening to the replay or watching the replay, however you absorb this content. So when I get to a belief, I'm going to ask, are you willing to destroy that belief? And if you say yes, and you mean it, you have to mean it. It actually just gets destroyed in that moment. I may ask, are you willing to step out of a story? Stories are repeated patterns that happen over and over in your life. Like there's good stories. I always find the perfect parking spots, but there's also bad stories, like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It may sound like a cliche, but cliches are stories that we say out loud. So watch what comes out of your mouth, because you're saying the stories of your life, right? Every time I try to get ahead, something pulls me back or something goes wrong. You may think that it's you talking about what's happening, but you're actually saying, these are the stories running in me, so I have to make that show up in my reality over and over and over again. Kind of cool, huh? So we are going to start off with a PowerPoint presentation I have. I'm going to do a little bit of my How to Rewrite Reality webinar, just so you can get a taste of it. And it just helps me to kind of explain a little more about stories. So here we are, how stories work. So I was on a cruise once, and it was a company cruise back when I worked in corporate. And one of the things I loved about working at that company was that we'd get on average 20% raises every year, or so I thought. So I was talking to one of my buddies, and we weren't saying specific salaries or anything, but I said, you know what I love about this company is the 20% raises. And he looked at me and goes, what are you talking about? I said, every year. Well, not, 20% exactly. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but on average, 20% raise. And he said, no, we get 4% raise, and that's above industry standard. And I looked at him and said, what are you talking about? I've been here for 5 years. I've been getting 20% every year. He goes, no, it's 4%. So we brought some other people in. We said, look, don't have to tell us the salary, but what was your raise? And people would say 4%, 4%. Some people 3, some people 5, but 4%. And so I'm like, wow, I've been getting 20%. And apparently it's supposed to be 4. So the next year, I got a 4% raise because they lived in their reality, which they'd been taught by other people. This is what you get in corporate. I lived in my reality where I didn't know that that's what the raises were. So I was creating my own reality of 20% on average a year, and it stopped when I bought their stories. So this is really powerful because it's you creating your reality. And so things like how much your boss is going to pay you is directly affected by that reality. And when you decide, well, everyone else in the world is going through something like a 4% raise, or they're really unhappy, or life is hard, and you decide, I want to create a different story, then you can do that and stories will change. So what stories are you running? It's a common one. You have to work hard to succeed. A lot of people are running that story. The problem with that story, first of all, is you're working hard, but the word have to, the words have to. If you have to work hard to succeed, then you cannot succeed any other way. If you don't have to work hard to succeed, then sometimes you can work hard, sometimes it can be easy, or anywhere in the middle, and you can still create success. Now, wouldn't that be a better story? 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, like I talked about. I've heard this, people say this over and over again, and that's how they create their lives. So you don't have to be in that story. You can be 5 steps forward, 1 step back, or however it works for you. One of the stories I live in is, even if it looks like things went wrong for me, they always turn out great. And that's happened over and over and over again for me. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now, if you're in the rich, that's a wonderful story. If you're in the poor, then that's a horrible story. And at that point, it depends how you identify yourself. And if you are not identifying yourself with the rich, get out of that story. Money is the root of all evil, which is actually a misquote. The love of money is the root of all evil. But if you are in that story, will you create a lot of money? Absolutely not. Another story you want to get out of. It takes money to make money. So if you feel you don't have money, it doesn't matter if you have money, but if you feel you don't have money, then you cannot create more money because you're stuck in that story. Time is money. Time is limited. So if time is limited, you only get so many hours in a day. You can only make so much money in a day. And if you're in that story, if you say that, that means you're in that story. That means you're limiting yourself as to how much money you can make. Separate those. Time is not money. Money is something entirely different. And rich people are. If you are not rich and you're talking about rich people, if you're saying, oh, those damn billionaires and millionaires and talking trash about them, well, then your subconscious will not let you become rich because you will become the thing you are trash talking, and you don't want to trash talk yourself. So again, watch what's coming out of your mouth. Look for the stories that are running. Stories are contagious. So this is a big deal because there are so many stories out there that are running around. And like the story on my company cruise, the story of what our raises were, I bought that. And then look what happened. And there's stories out now, like there are people that are genuinely lonely, depressed, suffering, having their income taken out, and they're in that story. But there are other people that are buying those stories from them. And you may be one of these people. This has happened with a lot of people I've been working with lately, is they will come to me, they will say, this is what's happening. I'm feeling incredibly lonely, or I'm feeling depressed. And because other people around them are feeling it, they've bought the stories. And we just shift them out of the story, and suddenly they're feeling great again because it wasn't their depression, right? It wasn't their loneliness. Now, there are some people that are genuinely feeling it. I'm going to say that again, but there are other people that are buying stories. And if all you have to do is step out of someone else's story to feel good, or to feel healthy, or to make more money, well, why not take the easy route instead of trying to fix something in you that actually isn't working? Step out of the other person's story and see what happens to your life. I do this all the time. I do this I see this happening with people all the time, and it's just fascinating how quickly changes can occur. So in stories, there's three main categories. First, there's their stories about you. So if people have a story about you, oftentimes you can buy that story. And so then you start to function from that story. And it's really weird if people say, well, you're never going to make it in this world. You may think, I'm going to make it, but you keep buying their story and things just keep going wrong. So this is all about who they think you are, what they think you're capable of, and the you that they are comfortable with. And this is important because when you start to make changes in your life and you start to go for bigger and better things, the you changes and people get uncomfortable. And I've seen this happen over and over again, is that when they get uncomfortable, in order to make them comfortable, you change back. But if you're willing to let them be uncomfortable and get used to the new you, then you can keep in that new life, that new reality, and stick with it if it's bigger and better than the one you've had. But so many people are out there trying to make everyone else around them comfortable. And those people around them often aren't happy. And so you're not making anyone more happy. You're not making anyone more successful, including yourself, but you're getting everyone to stay exactly where they're comfortable, which is the place you started and wanted to get out of in the first place. Second category, their stories about them. So this is a neat thing in that someone can have a thought about themselves. You can pick up on that thought, that story, but apply it to you. So you could have, say, a parent that acts like they've got it all together, but secretly is thinking, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm never going to be very, very successful, and I'm just struggling to get by, even though they're telling you the great thing is they're trying to show you that they're trying to accomplish things and be confident, but you're picking up their stories about them and then you apply that to you. And you don't realize you're doing it, just starts coming out subconsciously and you start getting the same results. So it's about their hopes, their fears, their habits. Suddenly those are all yours. And then lastly, there's their stories about the world. So there's a bunch of stories out there about how the world works, how the world functions. And the world could just be your own little world. Like for my cruise, the world was my company. You can buy those stories and live in them and be trapped by them, or you can step out of them. And we're talking about the ideas and stories like you can't succeed in this economy. You need to have a 9-to-5 job to be secure. The world isn't safe. These kind of things limit you and restrict you. So that's what I wanted to talk about with stories. There we go. And we have some callers online. So I'm going to have a look at them. And just check as well. Okay. So I'm going to bring a couple callers on, have some conversations with them. And we've got plenty of my own stories driving through the city today from Jessica. Hey, Jessica, how are you doing? Okay. And we actually have a hand up. So if you're online and you're in the Zoom chat, if you want to raise your hand, if you would like to get worked on, I will promote you to a panelist and we can have a conversation. And otherwise, we've got some viewers and some comments coming in. Cool. All right. I'm going to start with, I see Arthur has his hand up. Okay, Arthur.
Hi, Shiraz.
Hey, what's going on?
I just finished the call with you, and as what happens often with me is after I have what I consider a big shift or a processing, I get totally exhausted. And this is not very functional for me because, like, for example, I'm hosting an event tonight, and if I'm so exhausted by the time it happens, I won't be able to be effective. So I have you know how you said about the stories? And so I think I have a story that every time I grow, if it's significant at any means, I just get like totally drained and exhausted. And this has been happening since forever.
So sometimes when you have a big shift, then that can happen. I've gone through major shifts where I am exhausted afterwards, but if it's happening a lot, then you are stuck in a story that you have to be exhausted so you know you've had that shift, so you can feel it and it's significant. So truth, are you making yourself exhausted so it feels like you have a bigger shift?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's coming up truth. So are you willing to step out of that story? There's
I'm
resistance on
resisting
that.
this. Yeah.
Why don't you want shifts to be easy?
Because I wouldn't know if it was a big shift.
But you don't know if it's a big shift because you're the one creating the exhaustion. It may be a small shift that you've created exhaustion to say, oh, look, I made a big shift.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the question is, are you creating exhaustion just so you can say to yourself, I've had a big shift?
And the answer is yes.
Yeah. So are you willing to step out of the story that you have to exhaust yourself to show yourself you've had a big shift?
Yes.
Oh, that's something I didn't mention. When energy shifts around me, I yawn and I cough. So there's going to be a lot of that on these calls. I am not sick. I'm not affected by the COVID virus. Don't worry about that. But this is just what happens with my body. And other people will shift in different ways. Oh. Okay, so there's still some resistance. There's a little bit of a shift there, Arthur, but there's still some resistance. Do you need everything to be grand when you learn and when you shift?
Yes.
Why is it so important that everything has to be so grand?
Because then I could tell other people about my big shift and share with all my friends and mentors. Like, yes, I did it again. Like,
okay, so then that's about how you're seen, not actually what's going on with you.
mm-hmm.
Right? So, and you can do this. People trick themselves all the time. It's like, okay, so I'll do this so I can have something to talk about. But that need to talk about your experiences and how much you're changing is actually coming from a place of ego, not from spirituality, right? If you're just from a spiritual place, it's like, oh, I shifted again. There was something else moved and it's great. And it doesn't mean you stop sharing, but if what you need to do is tell as many people how powerfully you're shifting, then that's all coming from a place of ego. So when you have a big shift, do you tell a lot of people?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's important to get out of this need to show everyone how wonderful you are, how much you're changing. And again, it doesn't mean you can't do it, but that need is coming from ego.
I agree.
Okay. So are you willing to destroy the belief that you need to show everyone how spiritual you are becoming? Ow, look at that resistance.
Oh.
Look at that, even the people on Facebook. I felt that too, Arthur. So, okay, that's not moving. Right? You are so powerfully in need of showing everyone how spiritual you are, which ironically is not spiritual. So when you can come to this place of humility and just be happy for the shifts without, whether or not anyone finds out about it, that's actually going to cause you to have bigger shifts, because right now your focus is on what you can tell people, not actually on shifting. Okay. So are you willing to destroy the belief that telling people about your shifts is more important than actually shifting?
Yes.
Oh, it started to move and you pulled back. You really love that spotlight, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What would happen if you became completely enlightened and no one knew about it?
We had this discussion the other day about the janitor thing. Yes, it would be
Mhm.
awesome. I would I would do anything for that.
Okay. That's partly true. Sorry, I'm just trying to tune in on that. Okay. So, are you willing to destroy the belief that people knowing you're enlightened is more important than being enlightened?
Yes. This is fact.
Whew, there we go. Now that's actually moving.
Oh.
Okay, so now let's take it down to the other level. Are you willing to destroy the belief that people knowing you are shifting is more important than actually shifting?
Yes.
And that's still not there. So that's interesting that you're willing to be enlightened, but you're not willing to shift to become enlightened. It's got to be from here straight to enlightenment.
Your screen actually blurred out for me for a bit, so I didn't hear exactly what you said when you were asking the question.
When I was asking the question, or after you said your answer?
Right before I said yes. I didn't quite hear you. I just assumed I knew what you were asking, but I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure you hear the question, because, and this is the thing that happens on these shows, if you're in resistance to hearing the question or creating the shift, you will cause the connection to go. You will not hear me, or you will freeze. And so that happens on these calls all the time. Are you willing to destroy the belief that telling people how much you've shifted is more important than how much you've shifted?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's still not moving. And that's why I was saying it feels like you're willing to go straight to enlightenment from where you are, but you don't want to go through this. Well, you'll go through the steps, but showing people and telling people and being that spotlight of how much you're changing is more important than actually changing.
Mm-hmm.
So what's so appealing and pleasurable about telling everyone how much you are changing?
I don't actually tell everyone. I just have a best friend that I talk to 2 hours every day in the morning about all the shifts I have, and she tells me all the great shifts she has, and it's like those camaraderie and best friendship and plans together in the future, and it's the most loving experience I've ever had. Pretty much these mornings.
And that's wonderful, but you tell other people as well.
No, I don't. Not
Well,
in.
it's not coming up true.
Oh.
And it's not only not coming up true, but I have evidence of it, because on group calls you have with me, you come on and the first thing you do is talk about all the wonderful shifts you've had since the last call.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
I didn't realize.
So, and again, there's nothing wrong with celebrating your successes, but right now you're in this place of talking about it is more important than actually doing it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So think about this though. If you keep talking about it and making a big deal of it while shifting in small ways rather than shifting in big ways and not making a big deal about it, and which is going to get you to a place of enlightenment faster?
The latter.
Yeah. So do you really want to get to that place of enlightenment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So are you willing to destroy the belief that talking about your shifts and your journey is more important than actually making big shifts and a greater journey?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Now it's finally moving. How does that feel?
It was amazing, Shiraz.
Okay. All right. Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Okay. And we have another person, Jessica. Different Jessica, but let's get Jessica on here. There we are. Hold on, let me unmute you. Oh, It's an unmute war. Okay, gotcha.
One of the things I wanted to just look at with you is about my body and the reactions that well, a year or two ago, I got sick, and the awareness I had was actually like prior to getting sick, I had been thinking a lot about wanting to have a healthier lifestyle and wanting to eat better and all that. And so, of course, when I got sick, it created an emergency reason to change my lifestyle and to eat better. So now, like a year or two later, I'm definitely like in much, much, much better health. And I do feel like I have a handle on my diet and everything that I think I was wanting to create. But now I think like I still feel like I'm kind of like stuck in that paradigm of creating health issues as like reasons to eat well, because eating well really does make me feel good, but it's like I don't want it to be this like cycle of like me creating myself like not feeling well to like as a motivator to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like even with work, like I find, because I work in film and I often work 12-hour days. If I do that for too long, I'll have like a huge like crash where like my body will have all these physical symptoms and all that. And I do know that those things can be like stress can be a cause of illness. But again, it's like I don't want to be creating these things as a way of like justifying like the things I know. And anyway, I just wanted to take a look and see if there's any areas where I need to let go of any of that.
Okay, so let's start the first one. Truth. Do you have to keep creating health issues to make sure you stay healthy and eat healthy?
No.
So that's not coming up true.
I know that's where I'm confused, because like I feel like when I don't eat well, I do start to feel tired and all that, and then I'll just go right back into eating well because I don't like the way I feel. But I don't really let myself get far enough now with getting sick anymore that it ever becomes a problem. But I do hate the fact that like even 1 or 2 days of skipping my protocol, I get so tired. And yeah.
Okay. So Truth, do you have the discipline to stay healthy without the health issues?
Yes.
Okay, that was almost completely true. So a little bit of a caveat in there for you. That was kind of neat. And do you need
because like I do have the discipline. I just don't know if I really want to do it all the time.
Oh, okay. So let's go simpler. If you don't get the health issues, will you continue to eat healthy?
No.
Yeah, so there we go. So are you willing to destroy the belief that you need the health issues so that you can continue to eat healthy?
Yes.
Okay, that kind of clear, but it's part of it's not even yours. So whose story is it that without health issues, you will get, it's such a weird contradiction. Without health issues, you will not be healthy.
Yeah, it definitely is like a weird paradigm that existed in the household I grew up in. Was like this, I have health issues, therefore I'm somehow validated as a person. And so there's many people in my household kind of that had significant health issues. And I think without that, I never had health issues as a kid. So I was never really like able to use that card to get attention. So I don't know, but I feel like definitely there was some of that in the household I grew up in. So.
Okay, so there's two beliefs there. So going to step out of their story that you need health issues to stay healthy.
Yes.
And are you willing to step out of their story that you need health issues to validate yourself as a person? Ow.
Yes.
Ooh, there it is. Oh. Are you
Yeah,
willing
it's a
to,
funny,
yeah.
sorry. It's a funny one because it's like, I know you always say like when anger comes up, it's because there's a lie present. And I think for me, there's quite a bit of anger that comes up around that because I do feel like a lot of what I grew up with was a little bit of a lie. And so, yeah, it definitely like, I don't know if there's some like, now that I'm old enough to decide and that, you know, I do have the energetic, you know, kind of power to create these things, that maybe part of what I'm doing is like, well, I have the potency to create a friggin' illness. Like,
Yep.
Kind of like I'm gonna stick it to him, but I'm like, well, it's not really serving me to do that. Or maybe it is. I don't.
If you have the power and you get some joy out of it, then it's definitely serving you, just not necessarily in the way you want it to. So are you willing to step out of their story that you need illness to get attention and love?
Yes.
Ow. Ooh, there's resistance. Okay, that's not moving. If you
I think because on some level
healthy,
I feel, on some level I feel like I can't compete with them. So, because the illnesses still exist in their reality, and it's created a big divide. Not that hasn't, but just other things have created a divide in our family. So I think that's one of the areas where I feel like, how do you compete with someone who's sick? Like, if they're sick, they need all the attention. And it's like, who am I to say they don't, right? Because it's like, I don't want to come off as like a bad person saying like, don't give that person attention, because like they are sick and they need it. But then it's like, to what end, you know? And so, yeah.
So my question is, why do you need to compete?
I don't know. Maybe I, on some level, don't feel like I have the love I'm looking for in my family relationships. I don't know.
Okay. So that goes in a different direction, because you're in the story. You're in the story that you need to compete for attention in your family, and the only way to effectively compete is through illness. Right? So that gets us to, you don't have enough attention. So whose story is it that you never get enough attention? Ow.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. So I can feel part of it coming from your family and part of it coming from some other places. So are you willing to step out of the story that you never get enough attention?
Yes.
Oh, this is also very neat for me because I've just caught up with a moment. So whereas, people have that feeling of deja vu, my moments are so clear, I can remember all the words in the conversation, and we just caught up to something I was thinking about a month ago. So I love it when that happens. Okay. Are you worthy of attention?
I think on some level that comes up as not being true for me.
Okay. And again, you've bought that as well. So are you willing to step out of the story that you are not worthy of attention?
Yes.
So notice how this works out, though, because if you're in a story of you're not worthy of attention, and then you're in a family dynamic and other people are sick, then they get all the attention, which makes your story of not being worthy of attention play out. But when you step out of that story, then when you go back to that family dynamic, then even if other people are sick, you'll still be getting attention. Okay. Oh. So, are you willing to step out of the story that you need your family's love?
Yes.
Oh. Remember, if you need love from other people, then control of your happiness is in their hands, not yours.
Mm.
Okay. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Thanks. That brought up some interesting things. So yeah, I definitely feel like that I didn't expect all that. So thanks.
Yeah, most people don't expect what's under the surface.
Yeah, I went in a totally different direction. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for being on. Okay. Next, we have Monica. If Monica's still there. Oh, here she comes.
I don't see the controls until you make me a panelist.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I'm trying to work through this, but there's a lot of talk the last couple of days about reopening the world, ending the isolation and everything. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to go back to the way it was, because the way it is right now is so much nicer.
That's why you created it.
No. But I'm starting to get the odd, bouts of nausea and neck pain as my shoulders come up around my ears when I think about it. And I'm not sure why. I've been trying to figure out how to clear it, but I can't seem to isolate what the issue is.
Are you feeling guilty for wanting things to stay the same?
Probably, yeah. Because
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people where this isn't a good situation.
There are a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, everyone's creating their own reality, and you're not responsible for all the people that are not creating wonderful realities for themselves. Okay. So are you allowed to create a wonderful life for yourself if other people are living horrible lives?
Oh God, are we back to that again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
That's more yes than when we cleared it the last time.
Yeah. Okay, so it's still
and
over.
it's because we sort of cleared it generally, but now you're applying it specifically to the situation that's going on right now.
Okay.
And you're like, there's a lot of people suffering, there are a lot of people sick, and you feel like, how can I create a wonderful life and be happy with this when other people are suffering? And it just feels, you make yourself feel like crap.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not to be dismissive of other people, but there are people out there that are consciously changing and adapting. And there are some people that are stuck in lower energy that are just suffering.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah.
Yeah, I can feel that starting to move.
Yeah. Because there's nothing you can do to change those people. They have to get into that awareness themselves. They've got to make those choices. Right. And a lot of them just don't have the tools. No one came in and said, you realize you can just start changing your reality. and the place they're in, they're like, what are you, mad? I can't just change my, that doesn't happen. But you've seen evidence of it lots of times now. Okay. So are you willing to destroy the belief that you cannot be happy in a situation where so many people are miserable and suffering?
Yes.
Ooh. Oh, that's hitting a bunch of people out there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely
Better
the
or
source
worse?
of it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna work on that unless you can sense something else right away.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Are you willing to destroy the belief that you have to limit the happiness and success you can create in this environment?
Yes.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Okay. How does that feel?
Oh, it's definitely moving. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Thanks for playing. Okay. And we have Sharon. Let me promote you. Okay.
Coming. Hi,
Hey,
Shiraz.
how you doing?
Pretty good. I definitely have a pattern going on that I've also not been able to seem to get movement on. It's a really strange thing that's been happening, I'd say, the last 5 weeks or so. I have, I mean, on a simple level, it sounds silly, but it's showing up in big places like my stove that was new is broken and it's taking me like I've already phoned them 12 times and I'm not getting not getting the answers that I need. Like 12 times. Like the stove gives off a chemical smell and they've had just before, like 2 days before the lockdown, some guy came and did a whole report on it. And like it's taken me 12 phone calls and no one's calling me back. And that's just happening in about another appliance, but it's also happening around some insurance information that I need that I can't get. I actually made a list here. I need another letter about my furnace and just some like block, 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 block. And it doesn't really matter how much I like ground myself. I've tried all these things right on my own, and I just can't get people to respond and to get things resolved. I guess it's like these problems that keep showing up that won't, like the insurance issue is a bigger issue. I don't want to get into the story about that, but I need information and I need to transfer this insurance into my name. And you know, it's not COVID, you know, like other people are getting back to me, but on these certain major issues, there's like no movement. And
Okay.
it's wearing that down my energy is what it's doing.
Okay. And I know it's not happening in everything, but the energy is in a certain place. Does everything have to be hard?
I looked at that on my own, I suppose, because that's the way it's turning out. Yeah,
Okay. So whose story is that?
mine.
That's not coming up true.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It has to be hard. Let me go uh, shopping on that again. You know, I guess my mom's the next one that comes up in my mind.
She's in there. Feels
Yeah.
like a lot more
Well, the
people.
whole family. I mean, a lot of this has to do with my family.
Okay.
No, obviously not the stove, but the other stuff. I
Not
guess
to be
the stove
specific
is
to the
another,
stove.
it's just another, you know, aspect of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So are you willing to step out of your family's story that everything has to be hard?
Yes.
Ow. Oof.
Mm.
Resistance there. Oof. What would happen if everything was easy?
The first thing that comes to my head, I could just like breathe easier. And then I would have, yeah, it does. I do have like this looping that goes on that I'm aware of in my head, because I'm like, okay, because I'm like, I want to resolve it. And it's like, okay, so what do you need to do? And maybe it keeps my mind occupied off of other things.
So is it a good distraction?
Yes, I don't like it, but it is. Yes.
What are you trying to distract yourself from?
Well, I've had my own challenges with the isolation. In some ways, it's been kind of nice.
Okay.
But when you look at the bigger picture and how it's affecting, I mean, so many people financially and health-wise, and it can be pretty overwhelming, I find, situation. So I don't know if this is a better distraction because of a lung condition. I'm like hyper vigilant about where I go. So I don't really want to think about, and everybody's like, oh, Sharon, you're at high risk. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like I didn't think about that myself. Could be distracting me from my fears about that.
Okay. So is it better to have frustration and distraction than to actually deal with the fears that you need to deal with?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's coming up true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to destroy that belief?
Yes.
Ooh.
Mm.
And if you step out of your family story, are you stepping out of your family?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to step out of your family?
Yes.
It's a bit of a contradiction there.
Not as
So-
strong as it used to be, but I'm sure
Yeah.
something there still. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. So are you willing to destroy the belief that you can't step out of your family's stories because it'll mean you're stepping out of your family?
Yes. Well, I feel it's coming up for me is anything that has to do with my family, which some of these items do, it's always hard. Like there's a really big piece, I forgot about this because it's been on hold. There's some information I'm waiting for that's very important, but it has to do with the family, and oh my God, the blocks and the hurdles and the
Okay. That's a little more concise of what we did before. So let's hit that. Are you willing to step out of the story that everything is always hard when it comes to your family?
yes.
Okay. So if things were easier or just easy with your family, how would that affect you?
I think I'd faint. How would that affect me?
Yeah. That's the answer right there.
You know what's really weird?
Right.
it almost feels like an addiction. It feels like I would lose something just because, but I have the awareness, but I can still feel there's this like pull to be, entwined with it. And
Yep.
it's really frustrating because I have the awareness, I have the tools, and it still keeps the addiction keeps winning. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. And we are addicted to our stories. We are addicted to our beliefs in multiple ways. And just the fact that the first thing you said is, I think I would faint, because if everything was easy, it'd be such a different reality than the one you're used to.
Yeah.
That you'd be like, well, what?
Well, and I have had it happen on occasion, and I'm like, wow, and it has felt really good. But I keep manifesting it. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
The thing I've found though is when people shift to reality, especially in a significant way, so they've been struggling, there's been all this hardship, and then suddenly it's good. It only lasts a little while before anxiety kicks in because you're not used to it being good. And you're like, when's it going to get bad? When's it going to get bad? And if you're not staying firm in that new reality, you'll actually create something bad just so you can go, oh, there it is. Oh, thank God. Okay. Now, but that's what's going on in your subconscious is oh, thank God. Consciously, what's going on is it was going so good. What the hell just happened? Why did it screw up? And so there's these two different conversations that are going on because conscious and subconscious often don't match up. So truth, if things started to go really well, would it be too uncomfortable?
No.
And that's not coming up true.
Okay.
So are you willing to destroy the belief, actually step out of the story, that if things suddenly went really well, it would just be too uncomfortable for you?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. Better, worse, the same, or different?
Better.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't addiction cool?
Sorry?
Isn't addiction cool?
Yeah. Oh, so cool. At least now I know what it is,
Yeah.
and I can. And sometimes you just need somebody else to help you dig down in there, to help. Mm-hmm.
And I get it, because your subconscious is going to hide it from you. That's why you have to get an outside perspective.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right. Thanks for being on.
How do I get off?
I am going to switch you back.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We have one more person named M. M. Find out who M is. Hello, M.
Hi, Shiraz. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What's come up for me the last couple of days is, and it's come up before, so obviously it's not out of there. I'm really used to just doing it on my own, getting it done, because if I want to get it done, you got to do it yourself. But I was needing help yesterday and today, and so I thought, well, I'll ask for help because I don't know. And so when I do ask for it, it doesn't show up.
Why would it show up? Because you have to do it on your own.
I know.
So if you're in the story that you have to do it on your own, then whenever you ask for help, you're not going to get help. Well, most times you're not going to get help. If you do get help, then you're going to feel guilty about that help because you're supposed to do it on your own.
And also, it brings out some really strong emotions as well.
Okay.
I observe within myself.
So why is it so important that you do it on your own?
I think it just keeps going back to because then it'll get done the way I want it to get done, the way I need it to get done, and in the timing that it needs to get done.
Okay. So does everything have to be done the way you want it to be done?
Yes.
Okay. Because the way you want it to be done is the right way. There's no better ways. You've got it all figured out, and that's the way it has to be done, right?
It's not about the right way. It's just more of like, if I want something done, I want it done now. I'm ready to have it done. Let's go, and we can get on to the next.
Okay.
If I wanted it done tomorrow or 2 hours from now, then I would have done it that way, right?
Okay. So are you willing to step out of the story that the only way it can get done now is if you do it yourself?
Yes.
No, see, that's not
Oh
moving.
boy.
There's resistance.
And you're breaking up.
Of course I'm breaking up. So it's interesting because you've created this reality where, and it seems logical on the surface. Well, I'm here, I need it done, so I'm just going to do it. That's the most efficient way. Right?
Yeah.
But that's because that's the way you've engineered your reality. So I finished a outro for my YouTube videos yesterday, but I didn't do it quite right, so there's some stuff that needed to be edited on it, and I said, oh, I could edit this right now, that it would be exactly the way I wanted to, or I could just send a Skype message to my assistant, say, can you take care of this for me? And then like seconds later, on it. And then a little while later, the finished product popped up in Skype, and I'm like, oh, there we go, we're done. And because that's my reality, is not I have to do it now for it to be done. Right? So, and you could be saying, well, I don't have an assistant, but you don't have an assistant because your reality is you're the only one that can do it. It all just sort of comes together. But if you're not looking at it from that spiritual perspective and you're just looking at it the physical, it's like, well, no, it's different for me. And it's like, no, it's different from you because of the story you created. So are you willing to step out of the story that if you want it done your way and right away, it has to be you that does it? Ow.
Yes, I know.
Ow, 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 ow. It feels like it's going to break through, but you're resisting like crazy.
But it's also, I think what's linked with that is if I ask for something that I need from somebody, like something like an actual object, because I need it.
Yep.
Like I kind of need it now so I can do what I need for that person now, not like whenever it shows up, because then it truly is too late, actually, because then something has happened to the item.
If you need an object right now, then if someone else has to do it, it can't be done right now.
Well, there's been a whole pile of stuff over the last couple of days. So another example is I have something for a friend. I asked, hey, do you have this? Yes, I do. Great. Can you leave it here? Yeah, okay. And I've been waiting for the last 5 hours for it. And now it's too late because what I had for you is now dead. So
okay.
I don't actually have control over that.
But remember, if you go fully into the spiritual concept of you creating your reality, then there's no way that person could have had it on time, because that goes against the reality you've been living in that only you can get it done on time. You have to create delays in other people's responses to justify your story. Right? So that way you can hit me with the story after story. Here's some more evidence. Here's some more evidence. Here's some more evidence. And I'm like, yeah, but all the evidence is evidence you're creating. Right? And when you're willing to step into that other reality, everything around you will start to shift and change. So other things will be in place.
Yeah, you're cracking
So
up.
I know you're frozen right now. Okay, and you're back. When you're willing to step into that new reality, everything around you will shift and change to line up with that reality. And so your world will just look different. People will respond different. You won't get into situations where if they're not here in this amount of time, this thing is going to die. Those just won't show up because you'll be open to the help showing up when it needs to. The timing will change. So, okay, I'm gonna try one more time. Are you willing
Oh,
to step out of the
man.
story? Oh, I love this resistance. That for it to be done right and for
Yeah.
it to be done now, you're the only one that can do
Yes.
it. Whew. Okay, that's
Ugh.
moving. There we go. That's moving a bit, but you're holding back on that.
Yeah, I can feel that inside of me.
Yep.
Kind of nasty. Ugh.
Do you become less important if you're not the one getting things done?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Okay. Are you willing to destroy that belief?
Yes. Excuse me.
Where's Brooke saying take a shift for her? That's what's going on.
Oh, well, at least it's
Okay.
that end.
Imagine a world where you are just as important, but everything gets done just because you say, I'd like this done.
Oof.
There are people, lots of people that live in that reality. Okay. All right. How you doing?
Yeah, I think that's settling through and out.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. It is 4 o'clock, so we are done for the day. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you for listening. And I hope you got some good insights and some wonderful shifts out of today's show. We will be here on the last Monday of the month, moving forward at 3 p.m. Eastern. And there's also tune in to Ask Crystal. Jessica, can you remind me when Ask Crystal is on? And so I can let everyone know. And you can check me out at energeticmagic.com to find out more about me if you're interested. But look for more amazing things showing up on Breakthrough. I love being part of this team, this community, this family, and I'm looking forward to doing more and more shows like this. I think Jessica may have gone, but look on the Breakthrough page for more shows and check out Ask Crystal. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing day. Be well, be aware, and be magical.